before you even speak a word, the world already feels your energy. Today, I want to remind you that it's not what you say, it's who you are that shapes your reality. And when you think about that, when you think about my energy speaks the volumes that my words don't have to, that can completely change your life. When we really dive deep into our spiritual work and our ascension and energy work, we can then begin to realize that when I am able to raise the vibration within myself and raise that frequency, the outside world in reality tends to change with that. So, have you ever noticed that many times you can be in a bad mood and you're going to see that reflected to you in the outside world? Or you have been so joyous and happy and with love in your heart, and the outside reality reflects that to you. You know, we can have those two different things that occur. And I've noticed that myself in my reality. It's really interesting. The more I dive deep into who I truly am at a deep, authentic level, and I shed myself and I shed the stories that I've been telling myself, I begin to realize that I'm truly at peace and I'm calm. For the most part, okay? And I still have some work to do on myself, but don't we all? And when I'm diving deep and I'm really at peace and I'm calm, my world is extremely zen. The outside stimuli that is really just a reflection of myself seems to be rather streamlined, seems to be rather coherent and just in sync with who I am as a person. And it's really interesting because sometimes the stories that we tell ourselves, we can create these deep emotions within us, which then creates our outside reality. Because when we're not in sync with ourselves and we're not in alignment with who we truly are, our outside reality definitely reflects that. And it's really interesting because for a long time, I would tell myself stories about not liking people. For a while in my life, I went through a period where I just didn't like people. And it's just be like, people be peopling, okay? And they would dig under my skin. I'd be like, why aren't people the way that they used to be? Where did the manners go? Where did, being polite to one another go? Where did having common basic understanding of how society should work, where did that all go? It just seems like people were extremely selfish and arrogant and just filled with themselves and just angry. Especially I felt that way right when we could enter back in the world, like when COVID was kind of ending and people could go back out in the world. And at that time I was in food and beverage, and I thought people did the inner work like me, okay? I thought people were at home meditating and being around their families and just living life peacefully and in a, you know what I mean? Just really doing deep work on themselves. And I was still a work in progress. I mean, I'm perfect. We all are perfect the way we are. But I still had to work on, coming back to stillness and presence and living out of my heart space. Okay. And when people were coming back, I could tell I was maybe not in alignment because they were coming back into my reality, and they were some of the rudest, most disgusting behavior I've ever seen with people. And I was just completely flabbergasted and annoyed and irritated. And I said, how could you not be at home doing the work that needed to be done? But I realized that was the work that needed to be, done on me. And I realized that I was in a way, I wasn't in alignment with who I was. I was really trying to convince myself that I was this spiritual, guru, whatever, right? And I really wasn't. It was like I could tell, because why was I reacting to this outside stimuli, right? And it's really interesting. But what was really cool about all of this is that the staff was on a whole nother level. And what I mean to say is that they really loved my energy. Okay. So we had very conflicting things here, but that made sense because I was recalibrating things in my body. And so the staff would come to me and they just wanted to be in my energy. Everybody wanted to be on my shift. Everybody wanted to work with me. They really came to me for spiritual guidance at the time. And so it was just very interesting to look back at this now and realize that I was working out the alignment within me, but realizing that everything is energy, and working through my own issues, right? And it's to say that that could be you right now, right? Where you're like, well, yeah, I guess I have some peaceful things in my life, but man, when I get out on the road and somebody cuts me off, that energy, you know what? I'm gonna react. Right? Somebody cuts me off in line, I'm gonna react. Somebody goes after my family member, I'm gonna react, right? And so we have these things that we're still like reacting to on the outside stimuli, right? And so when we realize that everything is energy and everything is interconnected, and you are me and I am you, and that is how the world works, then we have to realize that we need to come back into alignment and come back into a higher frequency and really dive deep into what our misalignments are within ourselves. Because not all of us can sit on a mountainside under a tree, you know, and meditate for hours on end and live a life filled with bliss and happiness, right? Although that's the ultimate goal, is to live in a state where we are completely present in bliss and happiness, we still have things of our daily lives that we're still needing to work out, right? We still have to drive in traffic every day. Some of us have to go to a 9-to-5 job. We have children, we have pets, we have, significant others, we have insane family members. You know what I mean? We have all these things that are still going on within us, and it's just feeling our way through the energy, right? And when we're trying to manifest, we have to be in a state of the correct energy. Okay? Because the more we resist, the more persist, right? And it keeps coming back in and keeps coming back in into our reality. And it's like, okay, I get it. I'm not in alignment, right? And it's really not to keep us in a loop, right? We're not meant to continuously be in this loop of learning the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe sometimes that is the lesson you need to learn, right? Maybe the third time you're finally going to get it. But what I am trying to say is that you need to check in with your own energy and come back into alignment in order to manifest the desires that you wish to do. Like, if you want the life that you want, you have to check the energy, right? And that is where the universe kind of comes in and says, okay, well, we think you want this. Can you handle it? Can you handle these issues? Can you handle, these things that are kind of going on, that are, we're giving it to you and we're strengthening you and we're saying, okay, have you now learned? So it's not necessarily a punishment, because when we shift our perspective and we look deep inside, we can say, yeah, okay, I get this now. It's more than a test. I'm being strengthened, and being in alignment is truly the ultimate goal and that energy will automatically shift to the life I want, right? So, I talk about presence, right? And living in the heart space, that those two things alone will really shift your energy and give you the life that you would like. But you can also practice gratitude, and really journaling out your feelings. And it really invites you to really sit with yourself and really dive deep within and say, okay, what is it that is kind of out of alignment within myself that's manifesting in my reality, right? And then you could also flip that and really journal about, oh, okay, I have these things happening, these patterns that are being manifested within my life, right? The energy's not right with this. And then you can also have, what are some good things that are your energy has that is a positive manifestation within your life, right? And what are those feelings associated with the positive, manifestations? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're going to then transmute the energy, and kind of realize that those other things that were of a lower vibration and what you didn't want to manifest in your reality are going to shift the perspective, okay? And then you're going to say, okay, I'm not getting enough money, so then what would be the opposite of getting more money to manifest into my life, right? And we're not looking at thinking like in poverty anymore, right? We're not thinking of bills as something negative. We're not thinking of money as being negative. We're actually thinking of it as being a best friend, something that flows to you easily, something that flows in like a river, okay? And realizing that, okay, but I don't attach a story to money either way. I just know money's always going to flow into my life and kind of come to me. And it kind of goes much deeper than that, but I'm going to leave it at that. So, all that being said, think of your life in this way now, okay? Think of your life as pure energy, okay? And you're either in alignment or you're not in alignment, okay? And if you're not in alignment, do the exercise, like I said before, to get yourself back into alignment, okay? It's going to take a lot of work to get yourself back into alignment, but once you do, you'll start to see how it flows back in, right? And it's just a pure way of thinking that you just don't need to do more. The less is better, in my opinion. Like what I talked about in my other video about surrendering, it's just trusting and knowing, right? You just need to not do more. You need to become more authentic. You need to become more of your true self, coming back to your pure essence and your true essence as a soul, as your higher self, and act more in alignment with God, in spirit, and truly become interconnected with everything around you. So if you found this video to be helpful, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.